Your weekly dose of romance and drama has arrived. Season 29 of The Bachelor is here, and Grant Ellis, certified hottie and former day trader, is trading his day job on Wall Street for a second chance at everlasting love. New episodes drop every Monday at 8/7 Central, bringing you fresh twists in Grant's journey to find his soulmate. This self-proclaimed mama's boy is all grown up and ready to invest his heart. Will his playful charm win over the house full of hopefuls, or will the competition prove too intense? From heartfelt moments to adrenaline-pumping dates, each week brings new surprises in the mansion. Will Grant find his perfect match or end up with a broken heart? Tune in every Monday at 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu for new episodes of The Bachelor.
Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely, and parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/Wondery.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
I can't keep swiping. It's driving me crazy. Like, why is it so hard to find a good man?
Oh, Elly, can't be that bad. Let's see who you're working with.
T, trust me, it's bad.
Yeah. Oh, what about this guy? Eric.
Oh yeah, he's cute. I feel like there was something wrong with him though.
Says here, he has a highfalutin job, owns his own home. He's an excellent cook, has 2 cats, loves sushi.
Stop.
Hey,
That's why. The cat part.
what do you mean?
I can't date a man with cats.
What, too messy? Too hairy? A litter box?
No.
Okay. Search continues. Ha! Look at this guy. His name's the Devil. Huh. He literally calls himself the Devil.
Huh. He's kind of cute. He's got like a punk rock thing happening. What are his things?
Are you serious?
T, just tell me his things.
He's unemployed because he's holding out for a management position. He lives with his mom because she has a second fridge for all that Costco grindage. Enjoys illegal racing down public roads. Has a puppy named Shitbag.
Ooh, let me see the puppy.
Okay.
Oh my god, what a cute dog. Should I message him first, you think? Or, well, what should my opener be?
Why would you want to contact this guy, the Devil?
T. He's cute, a rebel, doesn't live by the rules, seems fun in an anarchist sort of way.
Elly, no.
But he has a dog, T. He has a dog. We ladies, we can't have everything we want on the old husband wish list, so sometimes you gotta let a few things slide and, grab a hold of the gold. He literally meets very few of my needs, but he does have a dog. And you know what that means? He has a dog.
But Eric has lots of things on your list, and he does love animals. Just they're cats, not dogs.
T, any irresponsible, lazy idiot can take care of a cat. It takes a person of real substance and success and responsibility to have a dog. Having a dog is like the equivalent of having a job and a home and being kind and funny and special. It's a dog. That's a lot of work. So let's see. Ooh, I thought of a good opener. Dear the Devil, I also love Polly Shore. Grinding on some mini quiche, buddy. Buddy. Is the Polly Shore reference too outdated? I mean, it's weird, right? How he lists all the attributes that Donna has, like her being a good catch, and he mentions her dog, and then he lists all the attributes that he has, like including the dog. I just think it's funny that dog is positive.
Job, house, dog.
It all goes together.
I mean, they both had jobs. They both had houses.
But there is something extra
There was something about the
special
dog.
about
There was
having
something about the
a
dog.
dog. It says something about you if you can have a dog.
It's true.
It's weird, and I think it should be fully examined. Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg, here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
And today we're discussing episode 350 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if nothing could tear us apart? Part 2. Daniel. If you missed part 1, it was last week. There's no more parts, just part 1 and part 2. A young man searching for acceptance and purpose falls into a life of crippling addiction and loses everything, including the love of his life and his son. On his road to recovery, he must abandon resentment and find forgiveness and run toward joy. And yes, that is a summary that I wrote for the This Is Actually Happening episode, which was just a first draft, and I know that it will be changed. And full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and T doesn't work on the show, but she's still awesome. And she comes in fresh, though, to the episodes. So it's like she doesn't know anything about how it got here. It just gets emailed to her. And this show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, reflect on it with empathy, and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. What stuck out to you is the heart of Daniel's story.
I thought the heart today could be distilled into one word, and I went with the word fix. It can mean many things. It can mean things like dependency, solution, right? Like it can mean like I'm craving my next fix kind of thing. Also, you're trying to fix something,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's an urgency to it, but there's also a healing feeling
Totes.
to it, right? Of course, I love the ending of their story.
It's a fucking miracle.
I mean, how?
It's like night and day. Like they fought, they slung shit at each other in court for 2 years. How do you come back from that?
COVID.
Who
Thank you,
knew?
COVID.
But I mean, it's right. They both in their both episodes they talk about this idea of being a dry alcoholic or being sober without doing the work. Because it's one thing to just be without the chemicals, but it's another thing to fix the reason why you needed the chemicals in the first place. So for them to be able to hit the like the lowest of the low, and then to find sobriety, and then to go after each other for all the past hurts that you've ever felt, and then to be back in love with it's the most remarkable love story I've ever heard. It's crazy.
Can't believe it.
That's an earned fucking relationship right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, fix is a good word. It's an interesting word because it acts as like a noun and a verb. You get a fix to fix what's wrong with you, but ironically, it's not fixing what's wrong with you. And then you have to pursue another type of fix to fix what happened from the fix to get fixed. You know what I mean? That is interesting to think about the origination of the idea of fixins around like a meal. Like a turkey
yeah.
dinner with all the fixins.
Yeah.
What's
I wasn't
that?
even thinking about yeah, and I said that. Yeah.
It's like the sides fix the meal.
Yeah.
The sides fix
Makes the meal. They make the meal.
and they fix the main to make it a meal. So, do you want to know what my heart of the story?
So, Ellie, what's your heart of the story?
I think the heart of the story that sticks out to me is the idea that it makes me think of all the relationships throughout all of history that have been lost to the inability to see another perspective, our inability to be vulnerable with someone else. And it's so sad because these hard conversations, if you can manage them, they really do inspire healing and deeper intimacy, and they strengthen the relationship. I mean, this idea that we go into a relationship and it's all going to be, roses and
Rainbows,
wine and
sunshine.
it,
No, it's none of that.
the rain will come, the hard times will come, and it's in those moments where it really demonstrates how deep you're willing to go, how hard you're willing to work. The more you're willing to be vulnerable, the more intimate you can be. And if both parties are working from the same place, that only strengthens the relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't until I think Dan was able to look even at himself and see his part of it as well. I mean, of course, Don's part, but when he was able to see his part of it, it's like, oh my God. And when you're in a relationship and being able to look deep within yourself, that's the part was like, oh my,
To look within yourself, to acknowledge what you see, and then to say it in words
the faults of yourself too.
to a partner
Yeah.
that you have history, like bad history with. That's fucking difficult.
No, sir. I don't want to see that.
No, not many people would. That's why I think this relationship in particular is so wondrous in its uniqueness. And that's why I said my heart is, it just makes me sad to think of how many relationships, and not even just romantic relationships, like father to son, mother to daughter, sisters, brothers, like how many relationships have been marred or lost because one or both parties are refusing to look inside themselves. And even if they get that far, are refusing to say it out loud. And then even if they get that far, are refusing to discuss it and put it on blast. And then if they get
Yeah.
that far, to like make change from it. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. You're just unwilling to show your own weakness and
It's raw.
yeah.
And it's scary, and you have to have a lot of trust to put it out there. And when you've been dealing with a junkie or someone that has like a junkie history, and I put that in quotes, junkie like history, at what point do you get to where you can actually trust them with information and it's not going to be held against you at some point?
But also maybe you don't want to face your own
Oh yeah,
trauma, your own history, you don't even want to look back.
it's so much
See,
work.
yeah.
And this is a big idea in Donna and Dan's episodes, is there's like a white knuckling it, dry alcoholic, and there is
Mm.
a person that's actually doing the work, and that's where the difference lies. Life is short. Life is also very long, but it's very short. And I'd wager to guess that 95% of relationships, of all of the relationships that came before where we are on the planet at this moment, those falling outs were never resolved because this kind of work was unheard of.
Yeah.
It's unique. It truly is unique. So let's get into the episode.
Okay.
Dan talks about his dad and his geological fixes. What do you think that means?
It's addicted to those geologies.
No. I take it to mean when shit gets tough, you move. That's a geological fix. Oh, shit tough in this neighborhood or this town or this university or this job. We gonna move.
Is that what that means?
That's what that is to me. And you know people like this in your life. I know people like this in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because you've left doesn't mean the problems are
Yeah.
being packed in your luggage.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan has to choose between his mom and his dad when they're going through their divorce at 8 years old. Okay, Arlo's 7. Can you imagine putting that kind of pressure on him?
And immediate too.
Immediate. Choose.
Now.
Arlo, choose. Who do you think he'd pick?
Oh my God.
Gwen listens to the show, so.
Yeah, me. But no. Me.
He would
But
hate choosing.
no, oh my God, that's so we would never make him make that choice.
I feel like this was a thing that happened in like the 80s and
Or is it
90s.
what movie was that with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
Titanic.
No, Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Oh, was it?
Wait. With
What's eating Gilbert Grape?
no. Oh God. Now
Oh,
cut
God.
this cat, sorry.
The Departed.
No,
Django Unchained.
no, that guy. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna go through the whole thing. Sorry, Kat. Just give me a second.
Kramer versus Kramer?
Stop it.
Oh, Martin's Room.
Don't. I'm saying stop. Just give me a second.
Marvin's Room.
No, stop with the rooms.
It's Catch Me If You Can.
Yes. Catch Me If You Can. It's traumatic. Right? Then he sees his mom. Anyway, it's so sad.
What's traumatic? Oh, yes, to
He
choose.
needs to choose like straight away. He chooses mom, even though
He's really close with his dad. Yeah.
sorry.
I'm glad we spent a good 20 minutes on it. What about his mom's promise to herself? I'll become unforgettable.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a promise to yourself.
Yeah. And she does really good work helping out. She's an addiction counselor.
Well, and she saved Dan for sure.
Oh, for sure. But it's so interesting that he doesn't really have that connection with her as like he doesn't feel that love, that deep love
Yeah.
with her as a mom.
Well, he talks about he recalls how his parents would be on the couch at the end of a day and didn't validate like his need to belong. I mean, these are important things to point out, but there is this part of me, and maybe it's this Gen X feeling in me that's like, yeah,
Oh my God. Really? That we were feeling opposite during that moment, I think.
I'm like, yeah,
I
my
was
parent.
heartbroken. I was heartbroken when he was talking about that.
I never really sought validation from my parents. I always got it from somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't thinking about it from that perspective. I was thinking about it as a parent.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as a parent.
And what'd you think?
I also, at the end of the day, have nothing left.
Isn't this most households, most Western households?
Yeah, I mean, you have a full day, you work all day, and
Set you set your kids to school. They've had a full day. Don't we all just want to chill at the end?
yeah, but I mean, you were here today, like you wanted to. I mean, we spent some time with them, hanging out,
Yeah.
talking. I mean, you weren't here the whole time, but had some dinner with them, and
I mean, honestly, I don't know what happens in other households, to be fair. I don't know at all. I can only compare yours today and mine growing up. That's all I've got.
yeah. But I mean, what the way he described it is like I saw the back of their heads in the front of the TV, and that's it.
I feel like that's a lot of kids. That's most kids.
And the parents are like faceless, right?
Yeah. They're like, wah, 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 wah.
And like he felt lonely.
Well,
And it felt sad.
it's tough being a kid. 12, 13, he became fascinated by driving fast, thieving, and being a drunkard. And he loved blacking out his first time. And he was forever chasing that feeling. And he sounds like he had a bit of FOMO. I just recently learned about JOMO. Have you ever heard of JOMO?
No.
So FOMO means the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
JOMO means the joy of missing out.
Fun. That's cool.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's actually Whit told me about JOMO, and because he's been sober for a few years now, and he knew that we did dry January, and we were just talking about the perspective, how your perspective changes when you're around people and you're not drinking than they are, whatever. And when you are on the sobriety kick, you tend to have the JOMO, the joy of missing out on maybe being a drunk fool or waking up with a hangover, like all the things
Yeah.
that also come with living for the moment, the joy of missing all the fallout from living at the moment.
We're getting wasted.
Yeah. So he moves to the big city, Saskatoon,
Saskatoon.
in the house, where the fuck that is.
This sounds awful, actually.
Saskatoon.
No, just smoking all the pot and then being like anxious and then smoking all the pot and feeling anxious,
He hates weed
but still smokes it.
and smokes
And it
it
makes
all.
you feel terrible and you keep smoking it.
But you know why he was doing that? I mean, he keeps saying it like this is all about acceptance for him and fitting in. He gets the Nomer weed Van Dan.
But can't you like not inhale like Bill Clinton? That's what Bill Clinton did. Right?
Yeah.
Weed man Dan.
It's so much about acceptance for him. It's so much about image for him.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking it, selling it, driving around with it. It's a persona. It's a character from a movie. Like he was intentional in trying to to carve out a place for him in whatever circle he was trying to be a part of. This is like the early idea of branding oneself. I mean, now we see that in social media all the time. This idea you have to brand yourself. It's it's ill inducing. It makes me sick.
Hashtag weed man Dan.
Ah. So he becomes a successful
You understand?
successful welder.
Yes.
And when he's in the mine sites, he's sober. No problem at all. Doesn't think about using at all. He goes back home, has to use it in excess.
Yeah.
So much so that he has to hide it from girlfriends. What is this about? Why do you think he can exist in two places as different people? I think when he's in the mine sites working, that's where he has purpose. He has a place, identity. He's respected. He's needed. He's accepted. He's accomplished.
Yeah.
All of those values exist in that space. And then as soon as he goes home, that hole that's been filled up in that space, like work-wise, is now empty again. And
Yeah.
when he's at home, he has to fill that hole with something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that myself. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm involved in a lot of intense work in the moment. And then once that work is done, I'm kind of like, what do I do with myself? Like, how do you go from feeling like you're doing the most intense, important work ever to then being like, okay, now what do I do? What do I do with my time? And I'm not just talking about this is actually happening. I'm talking about like all my freelance work that I do. Like that's kind of the nature of freelance. Is like you for a job and then you do the job and everything, and then it's all of a sudden it's over. And when you are needing to fill a void and you find it in work and then the work all of a sudden ends, you are left feeling very empty and where do you find your joy? It's a difficult one. I feel like I understood him completely when he was talking about that. And then in 2008, he met Donna. She's beautiful. She's got a job. She's got a house. She has a dog.
Checks all the boxes.
And he even says that she's kind of a pretty accessory to do drugs with.
I mean, could use together.
And Dan gets laid off. And there's a lot more time for drug use. Okay, so he talks about the experience the first time he introduces meth to Donna, and they have this wild experience together on meth.
Yeah. This was even more. I mean, Donna described it, and I thought it sounded really cool. But the way he described it, wow. I was like, wait a minute. Now it sounds even cooler.
What's going on? What's happening? I don't want to be gross, but what do you think is happening when he says it's with a woman and all of their inhibitions are removed and it lasted forever? What's
Man,
going on, T?
so many board games. Like, are we talking Scrabble? Are we talking Catan? What are we talking about? This is getting crazy, right?
I think we should analyze it. Do you
Yeah.
think we should analyze it?
Okay.
I'm prepared to analyze it. Are
Okay.
you prepared to analyze it?
Analyze it?
I didn't say that. You said that.
Well, I was just repeating what you said.
Analyze it?
Is that how you get pregnant? I don't get it because I'm gay.
Okay, and I'm putting anal
I'm
in
just saying.
quotes because it's not just.
I don't know. I don't know why. Okay.
I'm not even talking about like just anal. I'm talking about the anal of it. It's like
Like they cleaned a lot? What are you saying?
their inhibitions were removed.
Like they cleaned on top of the fans. Like, is that what you're saying?
Have you ever known a man that was dating a woman who, in layman's terms, might be considered like crazy or kooky or whatever? And inevitably, he's got loads of problems with her and he just won't break up with her. And you ask him, dude, why are you with her? And he's like, what does he always say? The sex is fantastic. You know what I mean?
Gross.
Yeah, men are disgusting.
That's why.
That's my guess.
I don't know.
He doesn't say it expressly, but that's my guess that their wild and crazy meth night experiences were based. I mean, it's like a sensory, it's like a sex memory. For sure.
You think?
Of course.
That's so crazy.
God, T, you're so gay.
I feel
Okay.
like that's so funny because I didn't think that.
What do you think?
I didn't think anything. I don't know.
And therein lies the charm.
I wrote all inhibitions removed, jumped off a cliff together. I don't know. I didn't think anal, that's for sure.
Quit saying it.
I definitely didn't think that. But maybe sex, but I also thought
And you guys, I don't mean
I-
anal. I don't mean anal literally.
oh,
I mean that as like a catch-all for like
crazy.
maybe things that you wouldn't normally do, just like a traditional missionary style. I just mean like there's extra things going on. It doesn't necessarily mean anal, but it could be like reverse cowgirl or something that you just don't normally do.
But I mean, I also just thought I don't know, fun old stuff, I don't know.
Like
Not only just sexual.
putt, wee bowling. What do you think?
Yeah. Just so fun.
So there was one particular meth experience they had where Donna dances on the chair. She
They're like doing fun physical stuff, but not all sexual.
But you gotta agree though that sex is a big part of it.
There's probably sex stuff too.
Okay, anyway, so she falls off this chair and now they're on opiates and they get into Oxycontin. And what's weird about this is like Dan describes it as, easing into a warm blanket, which is the complete opposite of meth, which I guess this is how addiction works. It's you're not searching for a particular kind of high, you're just searching for a high
Mm-hmm.
because
Just not
these
the
seem very opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm on meth. I'm on oxy. These are completely different things.
yeah.
And he was just like, oh yeah. And then it was like just like a change in our high. And we were tired from all of the excitement of meth. And now we're easing into our warm blanket, our warm bath.
It's nice. I mean, it sounded nice.
Never shit again. And he says this quote, and I thought this was especially telling. Wanting to feel better isn't an addiction thing, it's a human condition thing. What did you think about that?
I mean, I think it makes total sense. It makes total sense to just want to feel better.
Aren't we though? Isn't that his point? Isn't that the human condition? Is that we're always trying to search for ways to feel better? You have chronic pain, you have a cold, you break a limb. Like we seek ways out to feel better.
Yeah,
That's normal.
that's not an addiction. It's normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Oh,
what he's saying. Yeah.
yeah. What? Yeah.
Well, and this is this part of the addiction where it's starting to be like we have to maintain this versus we're getting high off this. Now it's become
Yeah, it's awful
a
now.
way to live,
Yeah, I'm just trying to be normal now.
and things started to slip. He's crying and welding and sweating. She's pregnant.
It's like, why are you sweating? What's happening with you?
I've read about this a little bit. Your body is working so hard to combat the
In overtime.
poison that you're introducing to it that it makes you run hotter. Same with alcohol. Oh, I want to point out here, I do appreciate that he took this moment, that he gives Donna credit for taking care and being diligent with her doctor to ensure that their son is born healthy. That was a big plus to me about, I mean, Dan's lovely, obviously, but that he could acknowledge, like, to see that it was kind of really on her and her body to make sure their kid was born
Yeah.
healthy and to give her that credit. I thought that was really magnanimous of him.
Yeah.
I think so many times people slash partners don't acknowledge the toll that it takes on a woman's body to have a child, let alone a woman in deep active addiction to stave off the addiction long enough to birth a healthy child.
That then doesn't have any withdrawals.
Yeah, that is
Sin. Yeah.
that's a hat trick for sure. And 6 months go by and they've been clean. Everything's going so well. How should we celebrate, T?
Well, let's do some Coke. I'm addicted to Coke.
Never been addicted to Coke?
Let's do Coke.
Well, let's do it. It's a little celebration that on our sobriety journey.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Let's be responsible. Be healthy.
Again, this is the kind of thinking that you do when you haven't addressed the root
The-
problem.
Of the addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, you've just had a baby, you've been in baby mode. Dan's chasing that feeling that he used to get in those meth nights. Let's be real here. And he's chasing that feeling. He wants that inhibition feeling back again. Or no inhibition feeling back again.
Mhm.
He wants that king of the world shit. Because Dan's whole thing, if you guys haven't caught on yet, is about acceptance and image. He wants to be perceived as someone that is successful and healthy, and he needs the accolades from people around him to reassure him that he is. And he still wants to be high. So that's a hard balancing act to pull off. And all of a sudden, they're right back in the throes of addiction. And this is when they really start detaching from each other.
No,
I mean,
this is bad. This is the worst.
they're strangers. They're two ships passing in the night. This is real bad.
This is the worst part of the movie. If this is the what is it? Montage.
Oh, it was a montage. Cute.
The montage, the dumpster diving, it's just bad.
Now, what I love the most about this episode
Oh.
is the moments where we see the true differences in the points of view between Dan and Donna.
Oh yeah. No, this is a good yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so this part is interesting because when Donna tells the story and she's like, Dan was in the garage. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He was in the garage. In my mind, I'm picturing him in the garage, maybe like Kevin Spacey in American Beauty. He's smoking J's and like lifting weights, maybe playing cards with his neighbors. But we find out from Dan that that's not what was happening in the garage at all. In fact, it was a toxic waste site. He was pulling in all manner of machinery and equipment and chemicals and just mining for parts to sell so that he could make meager amounts of money to put toward drugs. There are cracks in his hands. The house is filled with garbage. He's walking into the house with chemicals hanging off him, and he doesn't give a fuck. And the house is in foreclosure, and the heat's off, and there's a 2-year-old son running around in the midst of it. It's fucked. And it's not just Dan dabbling in the garage. Donna's inside at her wit's end, also suffering for lots of other reasons. And they talk about the violence. He talks about stepping over her, being completely passed out, and he's completely disassociated at this point. He stopped showering. The part where he talks about sleeping with his boots on. Yeah, yeah, you can like taste it in your mouth.
It's just gross.
He only took them out when there's a slimy feeling, which means to me that he's not wearing socks.
What's going on? Or he is. He could be. It's just gross.
But also the work ethic of this guy, right?
I mean, he is like actually, he is doing something all the time, but it's just, it feels like not. It does. It feels
empty.
like nothing.
It's completely empty.
Describes it as nothing. Like
he lost everything and felt nothing.
yeah.
And then the psychopath shows up. And we heard about the psychopath from Donna's episode. Now, again, this is also really fascinating because here we really hear the differences between Donna's perspective and Dan's perspective on this guy. This guy is not okay. He talks about murders. He shows pictures of terrible things. He's filling some void in Donna's life that Dan can't. And Dan is so interested in his little science experiments that he can barely react to this relationship that's happening. This social worker showing up smiling, the police coming in, having a laugh, cracking jokes, just like another day. I mean, sorry.
Disturbing.
You walk in, you see junkies, you see a house full of trash. You're probably gonna, a cab, but you're probably gonna feel like, well, look at these losers.
Yeah. It's like they don't care. I'm gonna take this child now. They're walking around. I mean, he probably looked like he wasn't even. He's totally, like you said, dissociated. Like he's walking around like he has no idea what's going on, grabbing stuff, carrying stuff. He's on some sort of mission that has nothing to do with absolutely anything that's happening in reality, right?
Totally. Yeah,
He's
he's like,
carrying things, putting things in things, and putting them here and there and everywhere.
he
Like,
literally
it's
says, they took our son and I went back to the garage.
yeah, like, yeah.
It's really fucked. And Donna left with a psychopath. And it sounds like under the guise with the promises that this psychopath's gonna help her figure out
Yeah.
the ministry. And you know that when he's talking about the ministry, it's that like the way they talk about government organizations in Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think it was like
No.
Jimmy Falwell's church or anything. And this guy, which we heard in Donna's episode, is a real psycho. They keep coming back to Dan's house to take his stuff and harass Dan, walk him in his crawl space, punch him in the face. And all the while, Dan's thinking, she's left with the love of her life and they're living this idyllic life with their white picket fence. And they just come back to, fuck with him. Dan is hurt and doesn't see his role. And what is this sad image of the house is in the final stage of foreclosure. There's a Canadian winter raging outside, and he's literally hugging a toaster to keep warm on a couch, missing all of its cushions. If this is not a pictorial representation of the lowest of the low, I don't know what is. It's pretty bad. I mean, I guess take away the house and it'd be even worse, but it's pretty bad. What do you think about Dan's mom?
Well, she saves him.
She totally saves him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's kind of scared about it, but
The way he describes it, it sounds like she does all the right things.
yeah.
And he starts rehab and he says that he's got life-threatening resentment. What do you think that means to you?
You wrote that down. Life-threatening resentment.
Yeah, because he says it. But
It
what
does say it.
do you think it means though?
Yeah, what does that mean?
If I had to make a guess, he means either one, he might unalive himself because he feels it so deeply, or B, he might
Hurt Donna?
hurt Donna because he feels it so deeply. Or it might be completely metaphorical and mean it's like threatening his recovery. It's so deep. I don't know. I honestly don't know. T, I want you to know that I'm praying for you.
Thanks. Why? Because I'm gay?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's nice.
You don't think it's beautiful?
That you're praying for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you are, just in case.
Well, here's a bike, pedal your ass.
Oh, why? Okay. Well, thank you for that. Can I get a ride though?
He was so angry. And Dan blamed Donna.
Yeah.
I love this quote. My demons like to wear her face. Oof. That's poetry, my brother.
Yeah,
And he starts on this road to really getting his son back. And I did want to take a moment and comment on a comment from an Instagram comment. If we go to Instagram on the Actually Happening page, and do you know what I'm talking about?
no.
Okay. The Wednesday where we do the storytelling photo release, kind of
It's about Donna.
this is about Donna. Lots of comments talking about her resilience and what a moving show it was, etc. And then there's this comment that I want to talk about. This is from Catherine's. I know addiction is a disease, but I honestly believe people who lose their children because of using hardcore drugs, choosing those drugs over their children, should not get a second chance with them. Their second chance isn't worth that child's life. And there are two replies to that. one says, luckily for Donna, she did get a second chance, and it looks like her children are better off for it. And then, oh, sorry, that was like one response. And then Catherine's responded, being an addict is forever, always fighting. Those kids' life, stability are not worth an addict's second chance. Too many what ifs.
Okay, Catherine's.
What do you think, Teeth?
What?
But what do you think about what she's saying? What her point is, Catherine's? I believe children who lose their sorry. I believe people who lose their children because of using hardcore drugs, choosing those drugs over their children should not get a second chance with them. Their second chance isn't worth that child's life.
Uh, I think this story is proof that they're doing a really great job with their kids, actually. And they got a second chance. They're doing an amazing job with their kids. Wow, they're really like facing their demons and they're like communicating so well. Like they're so honest with each other and raw with each other that, like we're saying, they're actually like really, it seems like one of the most healthy relationships I've seen, the way and how honest they are with each other at this point, that it seems like they'd get through anything at this point. It's so strong.
Well, and also, depending on the age that the kids are going through this, there most likely will be residual trauma or fallout from the experiences they've gone through. If they've gone through them young enough, like hopefully maybe, you know, the 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 effects of what their parents have gone through are lessened. There's also, this the state has a vested interest in trying to reunite children and their biological parents, just because, frankly, it's extremely difficult to place kids in foster homes or with adoptive families because those are very difficult situations in and of themselves. And fuck me, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other, but I will say this. Catherine's, your comment presupposes that people aren't capable of change. And I don't think that's true. I think that people are capable of dramatic change, sustained change over the rest of their life. And I think that if the state is regulating and judging the standards by which they've changed and which they're holding a job, a residence, a dog, then and they have judged it so, then it is more ideal that the kids be placed back with the custody of their parents. Again, there is no easy answer to this, but I think it's really fucking ignorant to come out with a comment that just lambasts all people that have ever been affected by addiction and groups them all into a category of irredeemable, unredeemable. What's the word? Is it irredeemable, unredeemable, not redeemable? I mean, she's basically asserting, like, toss them off a cliff. There's no use to them anymore. And I think in these conversations, in these spaces, we have to leave room for nuance. We have to leave room for objective judgment by interested parties,
Yeah.
by sober parties. And it gets really fucking dangerous and really fucking fascist real quickly when you start making big, sweeping judgments about segments of the population. So be careful.
Watch out for that,
Be careful.
Catherine's. Also, with them, it's really helpful because they're so aware of their past that I'm hoping they're all in therapy, probably
Yeah, the whole family.
the whole family. So they're all they're very aware of all the nuances that are happening. And they're like communicating all the time that they know exactly what is happening all the time, right?
Yeah.
So anything that's happening, any, moment any kind of nuances that's happening, like on a day-to-day basis.
If they feel tempted, I have a feeling that they
Yeah.
have a lot of support around them where they would pull that party in
Yeah.
and say, I'm not feeling okay. Can you take the, or
Any kind of subtle things that are happening at school or anything that's weird, they're very aware. And then they can talk it through,
yeah,
they're real.
they're dialed in.
They're dialed, right? They're locked in.
And now that they have a very public persona, they have
Oh.
their own podcast, they're very steeped in recovery culture and discussion. They're being looked at and held
Yeah.
accountable by a lot of extra parties. This whole idea that it takes a village to raise a child, I think they're truly leaning into that. And it's just
Yeah.
it's dangerous to go around making sweeping judgments about groups of people.
And I think
Period.
maybe they're not the only ones, and hopefully that they're a resource for others. That
Absolutely.
there's like a second chance. And I'm hoping that, there's a community there for them and others. And God forbid, Catherines,
Yeah,
you make a
Catherine's
fucking mistake.
over 16 years.
God forbid
God forbid.
that you ever make a fucking mistake and you get judged for it. Okay?
Okay. So now Dan's growing up with his son. He talks about how when you're in active addiction, it stunts your growth. I believe that's true. I'm about 15, I think. He's sober. He's got a job. He's got a house. He's got a car. Hey, T,
Hey,
what happened to the dog? Where is the dog?
what dog?
I'm sorry. You can't lead with dog and not bring back dog.
What's going on?
I don't want to think about it. So his son is in preschool. And meanwhile, Donna is fighting for her life, which
Yeah.
again, we heard what the fuck was happening to her in her episode.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Donna's back. Guess who's back? Back again. Donna's back.
Wow.
I'm her dad. Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Really? Okay.
Wow. And Dan is angry. Now, what he says right now, I think, is a huge admission, especially from a man, to say he was relishing and living in this positive reinforcement of, oh my God, we're so proud of you. You're doing it on your own. It must be so tough, but you're doing it. He's getting all these accolades. Again, goes back to acceptance, needing to fit in, all these accolades. And Donna's fucking dad shows up and says, Donna's back
Back again.
and she wants your kid. And guess what else?
Cheap brag.
Dan kind of admits that he wasn't very nice about this point, but I can't even imagine the judgment that he was
Oh,
feeling. Because in his
yeah.
mind, this bitch left him for this asshole, and now she's knocked up again,
That guy's kid.
and we can't trust her, and for whatever reason, she's trying to get her kid back. Like,
Death totes no is number one.
yeah, Dev Toast, no.
That ain't happening for sure. Good for you. Congrats. See you later.
And they will never, ever, ever, ever get back together,
Together.
ever.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening.
And they go into a 2-year court battle, which basically ends up with 50-50 custody, which is like the worst.
Well, because she refuses to take a drug test.
Okay, I wanted to ask you,
What's that about?
what do you think about that?
What's that?
Okay, here's my thinking on it.
What's that?
If
Do you have some insight on this? I was wondering if you had some insight.
like actual?
Like actual.
No.
Why didn't she just agree to the drug test? Because I would have done it. That was a 2-year court battle.
Think of it from this perspective.
Okay.
You've just been basically held in captivity. He's taken away all of your freedom. He's taken away all of your agency. You have zero trust. You have zero currency. You have zero social currency in the world. No one believes you, thinks anything of you, thinks you're shit, thinks you're a shitbag.
Okay.
And now you've actually done the work to
Okay.
get clean,
Uh-huh.
and you've jumped through all of the hoops that the state says you should jump through.
Okay.
You've proven it. You've got
Yeah.
a residence, your parents are supporting you, you're clean, you're sober. And now you want to see your son
Yeah.
that you fought really hard for to keep healthy during your addictive pregnancy. And now his dad is trying to put on you a requirement for how you see your son. I don't blame her for putting her foot down. She is finally starting to come into herself and has a little bit of agency. And who is Dan to tell her how she is supposed to demonstrate that she's clean if she's being held up as, I don't know, a she's been judged by lots of other parties to be fit to see their son. Who's Dan? Who the fuck is Dan? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying.
It's her trying to get a
Yeah.
little bit of her
Yeah,
power
yeah.
back.
I got you.
And I don't blame her.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Maybe it wasn't a fight she should have picked, but she did,
Yeah.
you know?
This was a 2-year.
Well, yeah.
I wonder if it.
It kind of, though, makes me love her a little bit more, though. I just think she was over being judged by other people.
I get it. I understand. And the thing is, maybe if she thought it wouldn't have been 2 years, like every time she may have thought it would have been fine, but it ended up being 2 years, like, if it was like every month you're thinking, okay, we're fine now. But like the judge kept saying like, I was like, fucking, but I was like, so
Obviously, when you look back at it and go, "Okay, you went through all this just to get."
yeah.
Uh,
If you knew if it was gonna be 2 years, like, okay, I actually did
Yeah.
wanna see my son, so I would've just fucking done it. But it was like,
No.
yeah,
Well, but you could also put that onus on Dan. It wasn't just her fighting for her own agency, Dan was fighting her. So,
I'm
just as easily as she could have relented and took.
he could've yeah, I mean, now we can all say that he could've been like, "No." Now everyone can say he could've been like, "I know you were clean," and she could've been like, "I should've just done the thing." We can all say that now. It's easy, but then
Lawyers gotta get their money.
yeah, let's get our money. Make sure.
But the real question is, oh my God, how do you get over any of this? And they start Friends on Friday.
I love this. They always have their Friday thing. There's always something on Friday, which I love.
And then COVID hit. And then one day he fucking lost it and aired everything. And this is the biggest turning point for them. He says, Donna, you hurt me. And she says, Dan, you hurt me first.
What?
And this is the first time he could see his role in how this shit all went down. He ditched her with a brand new baby in a house in Canada without heat.
Canada.
Dirt. He finally, through her lens, was able to see his role in it. And this is what started their healing. This is the sin of empathy and action. This is some powerful fucking shit.
Yeah.
And he does some stuff and says in ceremony, and he says this thing that I thought was really poignant. There's a banker that lives in all of us, in all of our minds. And it's keeping track of what you owe and who owes you. What did you think about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
Oof, yeah.
Tons.
Tons.
I'm always thinking about that.
They always,
That banker's there all the time.
the banker is there.
The banker is there.
And it's weird, like, I actually thought about it, and I thought about, yeah, how we tend to keep track of maybe what we do for others, what we give others versus what they do for us or give us. And it's not maybe something that dictates our behavior completely, but it's something that we can probably drum up in a couple minutes if someone asked us to.
But we really shouldn't.
We probably shouldn't.
We shouldn't. And it's actually not accurate. It isn't, I don't
No.
think. Because it's also based on like memory, which I don't think is accurate anyway.
Not very good.
I don't think.
Well, there is this element of,
And what's worth what and value is so weird.
but
It's such a weird.
I mean, not keeping track. Keeping track
But
can be detrimental, but we talked about this just today. On some level, you want to be able to, at a glance,
yeah,
judge reciprocity.
a little bit. Yeah,
you
you're
want
right. You're right.
there should be an equality that exists in relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, whatever it is.
Like you don't always want to be the giver.
Exactly.
Always.
So you don't want to like be nickel and diming, keeping track of every little thing, but also you are aware at a glance, like, am I getting as much as I'm giving to this relationship? And sometimes you do the math and think and figure out
That.
maybe it's time to bow out.
Wait a second.
Oh, well,
What? Wait a second. Am I being taken advantage of here?
exactly. So the banker, just make it a small B banker, not a big B banker. You know what I'm saying?
When it's close, let's forget about it. But when it's big, let's keep track.
Yeah.
Right?
So his true rock bottom was realizing that Donna wasn't the center of all of his problems. Woo! It's his rock bottom, but it's also probably his biggest healing point. And now he runs away from resentment and runs toward joy. And I've said before on the show that I feel like resentment would be part of the Westberg family crust. This episode really did truly speak to me about how truly damaging resentment can be. You know, this whole idea of pursuing ideas, like judging ideas based on whether or not they sort of brood in resentment versus lead you to joy. I think that's probably a good standard. It's a difficult one. I mean, that's got a lot of footnotes to it and how to like judge that or figure that out. But I think it's kind of probably the best. It's a good, if you have to stamp
Oh, yeah.
it with something, it's not the worst thing to stamp it with. Run away from resentment, run toward joy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good title, Run Toward Joy. Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where podcasts are kept. Please rate and review us. Thanks to Daniel for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit and Andrew and Nathaniel and Cathy and Katy, all these people that love us and we love them back. Please find us on YouTube and Instagram, everywhere. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly. Good job. Hey, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Trauma bonded.